Welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we are fast-forwarding the timeline to expose the grim destiny that awaits every narcissist who refuses to heal. You have spent years watching them seemingly win, watching them bounce from supply to supply, defying gravity, acting as if they are immune to the consequences of their cruelty. It feels like they have made a deal with the devil to remain eternally untouched by the havoc they wreak. But I am here to tell you that time is the one judge they cannot manipulate, gaslight, or charm. We are about to pull back the curtain on the final act of the narcissist's life, and I promise you, it is not a tragedy of noble suffering. It is a horror story of isolation, bitterness, and profound, screaming silence. The question that keeps survivors paralyzed is always the same. Will they ever pay? You look at them now. Perhaps they are still attractive, still successful, still surrounded by flying monkeys, and you fear that they will ride off into the sunset, laughing at your pain. But you are looking at a snapshot, not the movie. The movie ends in a very specific, terrifying way for those who live without empathy. Narcissism is a young person's game. It relies on energy, looks, and the ability to hunt. But what happens when the hunter loses their teeth? What happens when the mask, which is glued on with validation, begins to peel away due to the inevitable erosion of age? To understand their future, you must understand their relationship with time. To a healthy person, time brings wisdom, depth, and a legacy of love. To a narcissist, time is a thief. They are terrified of aging because their entire self-worth is built on external assets, beauty, money, status, and sexual prowess. As these things naturally fade, the narcissist does not develop character to replace them. They simply become a hollow shell. They are not aging like fine wine. They are aging like milk left out in the sun, curdling, souring, and becoming toxic to anyone who gets too close. The aging narcissist is a specific psychological profile that is distinct from just a grumpy old person. They become a concentrated version of their worst traits. The charm that used to hide their malice evaporates, leaving only the malice. The mask becomes too heavy to hold up. You might have seen glimpses of this already. The sudden flashes of rage, the intolerance for inconvenience, the childish tantrums. Project that forward 20 years. They become walking balls of resentment. Furious that the world no longer rolls out the red carpet for them. Furious that they are becoming invisible. Their secret hell is the loss of relevance. Throughout their life, they needed to be the center of attention, whether that attention was positive or negative. In old age, society naturally looks away. The phone stops ringing. The admirers move on to younger, fresher energy. The narcissist is left standing in an empty theater, shouting their lines to an audience that went home years ago. This irrelevance triggers a permanent state of narcissistic injury. They are bleeding out psychologically every single day, and there is no one left to bandage the wound. You worry that they will be surrounded by a loving family in their final years. Let me correct that vision. Narcissists destroy their families. By the time they reach old age, their children are either estranged, low contact, or so broken by abuse that they're only there out of obligation, not love. The narcissist will sit at a holiday table, if they are invited at all, and feel the coldness coming from their own offspring. They will realize with a creeping dread that they are tolerated, not celebrated. And for a narcissist, being merely tolerated is a fate worse than death. They are heading toward a crisis of control. Their entire life has been about controlling narratives, people, and environments. Old age strips you of control. You lose control of your body, your finances, and your independence. For a narcissist, this is not just a challenge. It is an existential nightmare. They will fight this loss of control with paranoia and aggression. They will accuse caretakers of theft, accuse children of plotting against them, and lash out at doctors. They become the patient from hell, terrified because they can no longer dominate the room. The illusion of the golden child or the successful mogul dissolves. They spend their lives inflating their achievements. But in the final chapters, the ledger of life is balanced. The lies they told about their success often crumble. They may face financial ruin because they spent recklessly to maintain an image. Or they may have money, but they realize that money cannot buy the one thing they desperately need. Genuine supply? They can pay for a nurse, but they cannot pay for someone to look at them with adoration. The ghost of the past begins to haunt them. Narcissists are incapable of true introspection, but they are capable of regret. Specifically, regret over lost supply. They will look back on the people they discarded, including you, and realize they threw away the only real things they ever had. This doesn't lead to redemption. It leads to bitterness. They will rewrite history to make themselves a victim, convincing themselves that you abandoned them. feeding a narrative of martyrdom that keeps them warm in the cold bed of their isolation. As we open this investigation into their twilight years, remember, the predator eventually becomes a prey of time. They are running a race they cannot win. You are building a life of substance that gets richer with age. They build a life of surface that rots with age. The trajectory is set. Gravity is coming for them, and it is going to be a brutal landing. We must dissect the internal collapse of the aging narcissist. The core of their disorder is a fragile, non-existent self that requires constant external inflation. As they age, the pump breaks. They experience a collapse of grandiosity. They can no longer command the room with their physical presence. This forces a shift from overt narcissism to covert/vulnerable narcissism. They morph into the professional victim. They trade their cape for a cross, demanding pity and attention for their ailments, their loneliness, and their perceived mistreatment by the world. The body dysmorphia and obsession with appearance turn into a grotesque battle. They might get excessive plastic surgery, dye their hair unnatural colors, or dress inappropriately for their age in a desperate attempt to cling to youth. It becomes uncanny and uncomfortable to watch. They are trying to seduce a world that is no longer looking. When they look in the mirror, they don't see a wise elder. They see a failing machine. This triggers deep self-loathing, which they immediately project onto anyone within range. Their cognitive empathy deteriorates. In their prime, they could fake empathy to manipulate you. They could mimic human emotions to get what they wanted. As the brain ages and the frontal lobes, responsible for impulse control, weaken, the filter falls off. They become openly cruel, bigoted, and rude. They say the quiet parts out loud. They insult waiters, yell at neighbors, and mock their grandchildren. The mask is not just slipping. It has disintegrated, revealing the reptile brain underneath. They develop paranoid ideation. Because they have spent a lifetime betraying others, they assume the world is waiting to betray them. This projection intensifies with age. They become convinced that people are stealing their money, that their children are waiting for them to die, or that the neighbors are spying on them. They barricade themselves in their homes, literally and metaphorically. They live in a fortress of fear, guarding a treasure that doesn't exist. The hoarding of resources becomes compulsion. Narcissists view money and objects as extensions of their power. As their personal power fades, they cling to material things with a death grip. They might use inheritance as a weapon to control their adult children, dangling the will like a carrot to force compliance. If you don't visit me, I'll write you out. It is the last pathetic leverage they have, and they use it without shame, reducing family bonds to a hostage negotiation. They suffer from terminal envy. They look at the younger generation, including their own children, and instead of feeling pride, they feel jealous rage. They hate to see you thriving. They hate to see youth, vitality, and possibility, because it reminds them of what they have lost. They will criticize your success, minimize your joy, and try to sabotage your happiness just to bring you down to their miserable level. They are the anchor trying to drown the boat. The supply famine sets in. They are starving. The high-quality fuel they got from you, the tears, the arguments, the deep emotional engagement, is gone. They are left with low-grade supply. A polite cashier, a paid caregiver, a distant relative on the phone. It doesn't satisfy the hunger. They are spiritually emaciated, frantic for a hit of drama, but no one is willing to play the game anymore. They are an addict in a town where the drug is dried up. Hypochondria becomes their new stage. Since they can't get attention for being great, they will get attention for being sick. Every ache and pain is magnified into a medical crisis. They demand endless appointments, consume the family's time with health scares, and use their physical frailty to guilt-trip everyone around them. You have to visit me. I'm dying. They've been dying for 20 years. It is a manipulation tactic designed to force proximity when intimacy is impossible. They retreat into a fantasy world. To escape the painful reality of their decline, they begin to rewrite their entire life story. They invent accolades they never received, romances they never had, and heroic deeds they never performed. They become the hero of a history that never happened. If you try to correct them with facts, they fly into a rage. They prefer the comfort of their delusion to the coldness of the truth. Finally, they face the void of intimacy. Most people, as they age, find comfort in deep, quiet companionship. The narcissist cannot do this. They are incapable of sitting in silence with another person because silence requires being present. They are terrified of the silence. They keep the TV blaring. They talk incessantly about themselves. They create noise to drown out the echoing emptiness inside. They are dying of thirst while floating in the ocean, unable to drink a drop of the love that might be available because they don't know how to receive it. The turning point in the aging narcissist's life is a tower moment of abandonment. There comes a day when the people they counted on to be their eternal punching bags finally walk away. Maybe the spouse dies, leaves, or simply stops caring, the gray rock roommate. Maybe the adult children go no contact. This is the moment the narcissist realizes their power is an illusion. They scream for water and no one comes. The silence of the house is the gavel coming down on their life sentence. This abandonment triggers a narcissistic collapse. This isn't sadness. It is a psychotic break with reality. Without a mirror to reflect their existence, they feel like they are ceasing to exist. They might fall into a deep vegetative depression, refusing to bathe or eat, or they might explode into a final dangerous rage. They are a cornered animal. They realize that the tools that worked for 40 years, the charm, the threats, the guilt, are broken. The dashboard is flashing red. They attempt the ultimate Hoover. In a panic, they reach out to everyone from their past, ex-partners from 20 years ago, estranged kids, distant cousins. They send the "I'm sick" text, the "I miss you" email, the sudden apology letter, which is really just a demand for attention. It is a desperate dragnet to find anyone who will give them supply. When these attempts are met with silence or indifference, the injury is catastrophic. They are forced to rely on transactional care. Because they burn their relational bridges, they end up relying on paid professionals for their care. But paid staff have boundaries. A nurse will check their blood pressure, but she won't tolerate their abuse. When the narcissist tries to manipulate the staff simply leaves or rotates out. The narcissist is reduced to a case number. They are stripped of their individuality, which is their worst nightmare. The smear campaign fails. In the past, they could ruin your reputation to get people on their side. In old age, no one listens. The world sees a bitter, ranting old person. Their credibility is shot when they try to badmouth their children for not visiting. People look at the situation and think, there must be a reason the kids don't come. The social proof turns against them. They are shouting into a void, and the echo is their own irrelevance. They experience the loss of the sanctuary. Often, due to financial mismanagement or health decline, they lose their home, their fortress. Moving into assisted living or a smaller facility is a massive blow to the ego. They are no longer the king or queen of the castle. They are just another resident in 3B. They have to follow rules, eat what is served, and submit to authority. For a control freak, this institutionalization is a daily torture. The enablers die off. The narcissist usually had a spouse or friend who shielded them from reality. As these peers pass away, the buffer is removed. The narcissist is exposed to the raw elements of the world. They realize they don't know how to function without a servant. They can't operate the remote, pay the bills, or cook a meal. Their helplessness is not just physical. It is a learned incompetence that now threatens their survival. Bitterness calcifies into their features. You can see the life they lived etched onto their face. The narcissistic scowl becomes permanent. They look angry even when they are sleeping. Their energy is repellent. Animals avoid them. Children are scared of them. They have become the physical embodiment of their inner toxicity. They are wearing their soul on their skin, and it is ugly. They are haunted by what-ifs, but not in a healthy way. They obsess over the people who wronged them. They replay arguments from 1985. They are stuck in a time loop of grievances. They cannot move forward because they are anchored to their grudges. They die 1,000 deaths every day, reliving the moments their ego was bruised. The turning point concludes with the resignation to misery. They stop fighting to be happy, which they never could be, and commit to being miserable. They decide that if they can't be loved, they will be a burden. They weaponize their decline. They become the impossible elder who ruins Christmas, complains about the food, and sighs loudly at weddings. They derive a sick pleasure from bringing everyone down to their level of despair. We now enter the grim reality of their final years. The secret hell is fully realized. The narcissist is often alone, even if they're in a room full of people. They have severed the emotional cords that connect humans to one another. They sit in their chair, stewing in a toxic brew of anger, regret that they didn't control you better, and fear. It is a cold, dark room, and they have broken all the light bulbs. Their legacy is one of trauma. They know, on some level, that they will not be missed. They know that their funeral will be a relief, not a tragedy. This knowledge gnaws at them. They try to erect monuments to themselves, donating to buildings, writing memoirs no one reads, but they cannot buy grief. They are facing the ultimate narcissistic injury. being forgotten the moment they are gone. They become psychic vampires of the worst kind. If you visit them, you leave feeling drained, sick, and exhausted. They suck the life out of the room. They complain for hours, interrupt you, and invalidate your feelings. A 30-minute visit feels like a 30-year sentence. This ensures that visitors become rarer and rarer, deepening their isolation. They are digging their own grave with their tongue. Paranoia turns into delusion. They may start accusing staff of poisoning them or family of stealing. The brain, stressed by decades of high cortisol rage and lies, begins to misfire. But unlike dementia where the personality fades, the narcissist personality sharpens into a diamond of hate. Even in cognitive decline, the manipulation and meanness remain the last things to go. It is the core operating system. They live in a museum of themselves. Their home is often filled with shrines of their past. Photos of when they were young, awards, trophies. They stare at these artifacts, try to summon the feeling of importance. But dust settles on everything. The contrast between the shiny past and the decrepit present is a daily psychological torture. The fear of death is paralyzing. For a narcissist, death is the end of the show. It is the moment the universe confirms they are not God. They are terrified of the void. They don't have the spiritual depth to accept mortality. They fight it with rage, panic, and denial. They are not going gently into that good night. They are being dragged, screaming and clawing. They are orphans of the soul. By rejecting their own inner child and abusing the inner children of others, they have spiritually orphaned themselves. There is no comfort for them, no inner peace, no life review that brings a smile, only a chaotic montage of conflicts, victories that meant nothing, and bridges burned. The final discard is by life itself. The world moves on. Technology changes. Culture changes. The narcissist is left behind, angry at a world they no longer understand and cannot dominate. They're the old king shouting at the tide to stop coming in, but the water rises anyway. They are drowning in their own obsolescence. Their suffering is self-inflicted. This is a tragedy. They could have chosen love. They could have chosen therapy. They could have chosen humility. But at every fork in the road, they chose the ego. Now, at the end of the road, they are paying the toll. It is a prison they built brick by brick, lie by lie, betrayal by betrayal. Ultimately, they become the cautionary tale. Their life serves as a warning to everyone who knows them. Don't end up like him. Don't become like her. They are the example of how not to live. Their existence is a negative value. They taught you what evil looks like, so you could choose good. That is their only contribution. But here is the truth you need to burn into your heart. You do not need to execute revenge. You do not need to wait for karma. The narcissist's old age is the karma. Waking up every day as a person who cannot love, who is consumed by envy, and who is profoundly alone, that is a punishment far greater than anything you could inflict. You are free. They are trapped in the rotting house of their own psyche. Do not let their pitiful state in old age trick you into breaking no contact. Their frailty is a trap. The venom is still there. If you reach out to help them, they will bite you one last time just to prove they still can. Let the professionals handle them. You have already given enough. You owe them nothing. Not your time, not your pity, and certainly not your peace. You are aging differently. You are aging into wisdom, into softness, into deep connections. You are building a tribe of people who love you for who you are, not what you can do for them. Your autumn years will be filled with the warmth of the fires you tended. Theirs will be cold. That is the difference between a life of love and a life of use. Release the need for them to apologize. They will take their denial to the grave. They will die believing they're the victim. Let them. Their belief doesn't change the truth. You know what happened. The universe knows what happened. The ledger is balanced by the reality of their miserable end. Stop looking over your shoulder. The monster is toothless now. They are shouting at clouds. They are powerless. You have walked out of the labyrinth. Do not go back and check on the Minotaur. Let the maze collapse on top of them. You have a horizon to chase. Your revenge is your joy. Your revenge is your health. Your revenge is the family you build that breaks the cycle of abuse. Every time you laugh, every time you hug your child with genuine love, every time you breathe freely, you are defeating them. You are the living proof that they failed to destroy you. They will eventually be a name on a stone, visited by no one. You will be a legacy woven into the hearts of those you loved. The story ends with the villain alone and the hero free. You are the hero. Act like it. Live like it. Take a deep breath. Smell the air of freedom. It doesn't smell like their stale, angry house. It smells like possibility. You have years of life left to live that are yours and yours alone. The narcissist is in the rear-view mirror, getting smaller and smaller until they disappear. Let time do its job. Gravity is undefeated. The mask is fallen. The show is over. The audience is left. Turn off the lights and close the door. You are done. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you see the future clearly, hit the like button and subscribe. Share this with a survivor who is still afraid of the monster. Remind them that monsters shrink in the light. You are the light. Keep shining. I'll see you in the next one.